Govardhana Puja 2020 by Krishna's Mercy. Kathyatam me pit, koyam sambhramo va upagat. Kin phalam kasya voddesh, ken va sadhyate mak. Quote, My dear father, I am very respectfully and humbly inquiring, what is this arrangement? Why you are busy in making some sacrificial ceremony? What is the reason, and what is the result? For whose benefit is it, and by what means will it be accomplished? Shrimad Bhagavatam 10:24-3. It is a tradition that Krishna created. He personally established the parameters for the inaugural worship. He directly probed the father, Nanda, with insightful and intentional questions. It was Krishna who gave the perfect response to every justification, as if he were a lawyer expertly presenting their case in front of a judge in a courtroom. The very first Govardhana Puja was because of Krishna, and it is because of allegiance to the same Krishna that Govardhana Puja continues as an annual tradition to this day. Anyone familiar with the Vedic tradition, either through family affiliation or taking instruction from a spiritual master, understands that respect is at the foundation of practically everything that is done. To deviate from what authority figures have established is an egregious violation of etiquette. People tend to follow what great men do. Yadyadacharati shreshthastatra devetaro janah, sayat pramanam kurute, lokastadanuvartate. Quote, Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 3:21. The attitude of defiance indicates a lack of respect. If there is one test that the individual must pass in order to achieve elevation to the imperishable realm, it is showing full respect for the one who has taught them everything, who has brought them out of the darkness and into the light. Tad vidya pranipaten, pariprashnen sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam, jnaninas tattvadarshinah. Quote, Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 4:34. If ever we should think that we are smarter than the guru, that we have discovered flaws in the techniques, the justifications, and the timings that the authority figures follow as part of their sadhana, we are essentially doomed. In foolishness, we consider ourselves to be wiser than those whose association we desperately required in order to even see the basic distinction between matter and spirit. This distinction is the first instruction in what is known as the science of self-realization, in the Vidya component of Sanatana Dharma. To that end, there are some potential contradictions evident in the story involving the first Govardhana Puja. Sri Krishna, who is an avatara of Hari, the Supreme Lord, was but a child at the time. He did not know better, supposedly. He was the very embodiment of a dependent, under the care of the loving foster parents, Nanda and Yashoda. As is known to happen on occasion, the parents find the inquisitiveness of the children to be endearing. This was also the case with Nanda Maharaj, who happened to be the leader of the community in Gokula. Krishna wanted to know what was going on. It was that time for the tradition of worshipping Indra, the king of heaven. Krishna wanted to understand the justification. Just what exactly were the people looking to get? What was the phalam related to this karma, which appeared to be aligned with some kind of duty karya? Nanda Maharaj replied that it was more or less tradition. The people were paying respect to the King of Heaven for providing sufficient rainfall. The process of worshipping a higher authority in return for benedictions was nothing groundbreaking. It is not earth-shattering to feel a sense of appreciation towards a benefactor who facilitates the continuation of life at the deepest level, which is food production. Krishna had other ideas. He was asking the questions with an intent to shift things around. Krishna suggested that the people worship Govardhana instead. This was a nearby hill dear to the cows. The cows were everything to the community. Well protected and well fed, they were essentially taken care of by that local hill. Krishna succeeded with his presentation. He not only convinced the people to worship Govardhana, but they simultaneously scrapped the plans for worshipping Indra. It was a trade of sorts. Would it be worth it? Was it not a risk? A person familiar with the teachings of Bhagavad-gita might raise objections along the following lines.
Does it not say that a person should avoid making up religious functions? They should not fast, for instance, with the intent of pushing a political cause. If they make up their own injunctions, they are essentially following the way of the demon, the asura. Their only fate is a hellish existence. Why did not the same apply to the first Govardhana Puja? Krishna essentially made up a new kind of worship. It was not even an additional activity. It took the place of long-standing tradition.
This is a legitimate argument. The explanation is that scriptural injunctions facilitate gradual elevation. From a lower mode of living to a higher one, out of ignorance and into knowledge, sattva guna is the platform from which a person can reach the heavenly planets in the afterlife. This platform simultaneously brings knowledge of the material and spiritual worlds. It also lays out, in the absence of ambiguity, what should be done and what should not be done, karya and akarya. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye, bandham moksham cha ya vetti buddhi, sa parth, satviki. Quote, O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, that understanding is established in the mode of goodness. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 18-30. Sri Krishna is not bound by the modes of nature. He is not material in any way. Only he can create a new kind of worship. This is one of the reasons Govardhana Puja is so dear to devotees. It is an instance of God acting like an atheist or an iconoclastic rebel. He can withstand the punishment directed by those who are strict to the letter of the law that is Dharma in practice. The people worshipped Govardhana, and their immediate reward was a devastating rainstorm that was intentionally sent their way by a perturbed king of heaven. The people were essentially seeing the consequences to their flagrant violation of the rules. It was like they were flaunting their satisfaction in the process, in receiving direct validation from the hill. The punishment subsequently received appeared to align with the principle from Bhagavad-gita, which is taught directly by Krishna. Ya shastra vidhimutsrijya vartate kamkarat na sa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. Quote, But he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 16-23. As if validate the proposal, to give the final word to settle the controversy, Krishna himself lifted up the just worshipped hill. He raised Govardhana in the air to protect the people. Their decision was not foolish. It was not an act of betrayal against righteousness. Rather, the higher way of thinking considers both good and bad, guna and dosha, to be a kind of illusion. As Goswami Tulsidas describes, That illusion can only be dispelled by Hari himself. Hari maya krit dosh gun binu hari bhajan na jahi, bhajiya ram sab kaam taji as bichari man mahi. Quote, good and bad, which are part of the illusion created by Hari, cannot be removed without worshipping Hari. Keeping this in mind, worship Rama and renounce all desires. Dohavali 127. In closing, Shastra seriously should take, new traditions should not make, because way of the asura found, to negative consequences bound. How then Govardhana Puja to explain? When from worship of Indra to refrain, good and bad illusion of Hari created, only by his will negated.